Welcome back to Task Force Offroad, guys. If you're new to the channel, my name is George. This is my 2018 Jeep Wrangler JL. And for those of you that watched the previous video about my Jeep, well, you know I have a death wobble issue. So we're fixing that today, hopefully. I say hopefully because there's still a couple components I did not buy that have to do with death wobble. I'm hoping isn't the issue, but we will address that after if it is. So what did I buy? I bought from Steersmarts the Yeti XD system. I got the XD drag link with Griffin steering attenuator. I will explain a little bit of what this is throughout the video as I'm installing it. And I got their XD aluminum drag link. Before I pick this up, that is, I'm pretty sure, I think, solid aluminum. It is heavy, obviously minus the parts that are drilled out for the threading, but it's a thick piece of aluminum. I was not expecting it to be as heavy as it is, being that it is aluminum, but so far I like it. So I'm gonna need anti-seize, obviously, for this stuff, because you don't want the dissimilar metals corroding together, because the end links of the tie rods are still steel. So with that being said, let's get into today's video. First, I want to talk about how stupidly difficult it was to take those tires off. So I can thank Jeep, who did the tire rotation, for, you know, torquing them at like 900 foot-pounds because my impact gun couldn't get them off. So we're going to be removing the steering stabilizer from the tie rod first. This guy's an 18 millimeter, and we're just going to give her a nice little hit. Then with a 22, we can go ahead and drop our tie rod itself. And now the other side. Alright, so now we're gonna see exactly how bad these ball joints are shot. And, oh man, that is... I gotta say this, the aluminum tie rod is actually kind of heavier than this, which is really sad to say. Like, it's really, really sad to say. But that's one part down. This side should drop free, and the pitman arm's gonna need some persuasion. I'm gonna leave that in a couple threads. So I'm lazy, so I use what I shouldn't use to get it off. Pretty sure I broke it free. I still have to go to Home Depot to get the right tool, but to stop the Jeep steering wheel from turning, I put the seatbelt in it to lock it free. Should note that. And I stuck a sledgehammer in between there. That way, when I turn the nut on the drag link, it can't turn the wheel, or it can't turn the axle. No, it can't turn the wheel. I was right the first time. So I'm pretty sure I broke it free, and then I gotta go to Home Depot. And I'm using this because I have brand new hardware, so I don't care about ruining this nut. So if I round this one off, it doesn't matter. I just don't want to ruin the new stuff. All right, now that it's hand loose, I need a sledgehammer and a pickle fork. There it is. She dropped. Oh, I might need to use the hammer to get the pickle fork out. Okay, so she's loose. We're gonna take this out. Okay. I just need to support this side up, and then she'll drop free. All right, so the next step is going to be to adding our ball joint caps here. To do this, we have to remove our Zerk fittings. Are these hand on? No, I need to get a wrench for it. So with our Zerk fitting out, we can then add an O-ring to it. After we add our O-ring, we can put our cap on. And after our cap's on, we can put our Zerk fitting back in. I'm gonna be honest, I really wish it came with the caps on, because there's no reason not to have the caps on. So now, it's time to start assembling our tie rod and our drag link. So to assemble the tie rod, it's gonna be simple as screwing your end links in. However, this is aluminum and this is steel. And those dissimilar metals are gonna corrode together. So if you ever want to adjust this or get the thing off, you're gonna wanna coat the threads in anti-seize. And just be aware this stuff gets absolutely everywhere, even if you don't intend it to, so be careful. But I like a nice thick coat of anti-seize on everything, because I don't play no games, especially up here in the Northeast. Just not worth playing the games, man. Before you thread it on, make sure you have your clamps on the tie rod itself. All right, so this should be noted, these are side specific, so you can't put the tie rod in the wrong side. I don't know if I'm talking out my butthole by saying that, however, it wouldn't thread into the other side. So I'm assuming they're threaded side specific. I'm gonna thread this in a good bit of ways. And after I thread this in a good bit of ways, I'm gonna bring up the old tie rod and we're gonna get a baseline measurement. Well, that's embarrassing. I just took a picture instead of hit record. So we're attaching our drag link together now. The small end of the drag link goes on the metal portion, not the booted portion of the Griffin attenuator. So you didn't miss much. Let's be real. Oh, forearms for days, boys. All right, so now I need to take a baseline measurement of this, and we need to go from center to center. All right, so I got a helper. 41.5 is the number for the drag links. Now I need to set the other drag link to 41.5. So with where it is now, I'm pretty sure it's at 40 and that's all the way in, which is great, which means we have a lot of flexibility and I'm not concerned about tolerances at all. We're at what, 41.5? It's 41 and about a quarter. So let's compare this with the other one. Now after we get our drag link figured out, we have to do the same thing to the tie rod. So get your measurement. I'm gonna get my measurement, I'm gonna measure, and I'm also gonna match them up so we double cross ourselves out and we get it squared away. Got it? 61. Center of the bolt. Is that center of the bolt?
Yep.
Okay, so we're at 5 feet. We need to come out an inch. 1, 2.
Awesome.
So now I'm just gonna line everything up nice and pretty. All right, so now that we have all of our baseline measurements done, it should be pretty close when we go to put this stuff on the Jeep. So I'm gonna go in and put these clamp brackets on now, and we're gonna get this thing tightened up. These nut and bolts are different sizes, 18 and 16. Now, we need to tighten up the drag link. So I'm gonna need to make adjustments to get everything in properly. And that's just nice and loose and goosey. I need a light now because it got dark. So with this setup, I'm not gonna be able to run the factory stabilizer location. And I have no idea what I'm gonna use yet. But in the meantime, it's gotta come off. So, okay. So all your ball joints come with this little plastic bit on top of it. You don't need it. That's just for shipping. So then you have this tapered portion, and that's gonna go on top of your actual ball joint, and then it's going to go washer, and then nut, in that order. These guys are a 21mm socket. So now, I'm gonna recruit some help from my pops. He's gonna help me do this. All right, so it appears that the pitman arm side does not have a washer or a taper. So, we're setting up what we got. I need you to grab this, dude. All right. So we're gonna loosely thread this on so it can support its own weight. Come on. Okay, and now I'm gonna get the other side. Now we're just gonna turn that, hold on. Watch out, bud. Put this tapered portion on. Get this guy in the knuckle. Move the knuckle where it needs to be. And once it's in the knuckle, washer. And then, loosely thread that guy on. All right, I know it's dark outside, so I hope you guys can see this, but there's an Allen. So there's the top of the bolt, the Allen goes in. To get these guys started, you need a wrench. So it's a 21mm wrench. And at some point, center the ball joint itself. Yep, there it is. So I'm gonna need to use the Allen to stop that from spinning. And this needs to get torqued down to, I believe, it's like 130 foot-pounds. So once this is sucked up enough to where I can spin it with just the wrench, then we're gonna take the torque wrench out. All right, now that our tie rod's in, we can tighten it up. I'm not showing that on camera. Good set of Allen keys and a wrench. Get it to where you can tighten it normally and then torque it down. After that, we can start getting measurements for our base toe. Throw the frickin' throw the tires back on and call that a day. That's the install done. Hopefully yours works for you when it comes to stopping by itself, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So do it as best you can. Get it as tight as humanly possible though. The con of getting the aluminum tie rod, their tie rod is 1 3/4 inches thick, which means most of the tie rod mounted steering stabilizers will not work. Most of the clamps won't work. So I'm having a difficulty deciding which way I want to go with that right now. I found some mounts and stuff that'll work, but I'm not sure if I want to go in that direction, but in the meantime, I'm probably gonna have to do it anyways. So that's one. However, the reason I did go with, the reason I went with aluminum is because aluminum's a lot more forgiving of a metal and it's much more malleable and it has more memory than steel. And what I mean by that is you can get just about the same strength out of steel. Like this is still 1.5 ton material, not obviously the weight, but like the rating for it. But what it does is, JK Gear and Gadgets has a great video on it. They just put it out actually. I will link it in the description. Is the aluminum will bend and then go back to being straight, whereas the steel would just bend. So if you hit it on a rock or something, the aluminum's much more likely to go back to where it was, and you're not gonna ruin the tie rod itself, and it's just gonna last you a lot longer. As well as the end links in this thing are beefy as all heck. I think the aluminum tie rod assembled is still heavier than the steel one from the factory. Like that's absolutely ridiculous. And then the drag link with the steering attenuator, same exact thing. So all in all, this is a really, really robust system. I'm very, very happy with how it's performing right now. And to be honest with you, I could drive without a steering stabilizer, I feel like, and I'm not gonna really notice anything. I think a big help of that is the steering attenuator. But obviously you're going to then wear out steering components faster without a stabilizer, because that's what it does. It helps absorb some of the shock from road impacts and stuff. So you do want to run a steering stabilizer. I would not suggest anyone not run one, but this thing is working out. This stuff's working fantastically right now. I have not one complaint so far, guys. This is phenomenal. All right, guys, with all that being said, that is the end of the video. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do all that typical YouTube jazz. I hope to see you in the next one. I really like these parts. They look really good. It's a worth it install, I think. These ones are super expensive, so let's take that with a grain of salt as well. This is kind of like top tier that you could kind of go with the steering. Synergy steering is much more affordable as well. So like take that with a grain of salt. I think Steersmarts has great parts and they're super beefy, so that's why I went with them. But if you want to go a little more cost effective, Synergy's out there as well, and there's other great companies that do it too. The stock components are just trash. They're really just trash. I'm going to give you some close-ups of what it looks like installed, but I'm super happy with this, guys. I think it came out phenomenally, and I think it's going to last quite a long time.
Yeah, it's that first day of first grade. That cute girl, your third date. That backpack, that snapback you've had since the third grade. The first time you got laid, the worst time you got played. It hurt, but you're